everyone, it's Emily Munn and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are just joining for the first time or if you're new here, I work full-time in a corporate job as an IT project manager and I sell on eBay and Poshmark as my side hustle. So on this channel I talk a lot about my tips, tricks, and advice with reselling as well as my business tips in general because that's what I have a degree in and that's the field I work in. So if that sounds interesting to you, then I would really appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel down below and we will get into the topic. Today I want to talk about 8 metrics I think you should capture in your Poshmark business. In a previous video, you all wanted to see my inventory spreadsheet and all the different fields I use and capture to capture my Poshmark metrics and eBay metrics as well. But I thought I would put most of you all to sleep if I went through each field one by one. So I thought that I would instead just go over the 8 most valuable metrics, in my opinion, in my Poshmark business. Of course, you could capture many other things. This is not an exhaustive list. If you have any other ideas that you want to see or see if I capture that field, please leave it down below. These are just the 8 that I think are the most important. So let's get into it. So the first 2 metrics go together. The price that the item was purchased for and the price that the item was sold for. The reason this is important is because those 2 metrics, along with any fees associated with selling an item, equal your profit. So I'm just going to give like a generic example with some even numbers so that this makes a little bit more sense. Hopefully it is not confusing. So let's say I sold a t-shirt on Poshmark for $20. Poshmark takes a 20% commission flat rate off of any purchase. It's a little bit different if it gets under $15, but for the sake of this example, we're not going to go into that. So I sell an item for $20 and Poshmark is going to take 20%, so $4. At that point, I am left with $16. And then in addition to that, I need to subtract what I initially paid for the item. Let's say in this case, I paid an even $4 for that t-shirt, and then the profit I made on that item is $12. Of course, there are other things you could account for there, but I think it's important to note that you are keeping track of your profit. When I first started reselling, I was not doing this, and it's so important because a business is not going to survive forever if it doesn't have a profit. So keep track of that price an item was purchased for and the price an item was sold for in your metrics so that you can keep track of, most importantly, your profit. Number 3 and 4 go together as well. So it's the date listed, the date the item was listed, and the date the item was sold. This is important because you want to keep track of the days your item was on the market, especially if you have limited amount of space where you're storing the items. So I think a good example of this is, let's say I sold a t-shirt, let's use the same example, and it sat on the market for 300 days. If I made a really good profit on that, I might be okay with sitting on something for that long. But let's say I only made $2 profit. I'm probably not going to be picking up that item again. So that's why I think it's important to keep track of the amount of days your item is on the market, because depending on the way you want to run your business, you at least need to know how long something sits, how long it stays on the market, and how fast, more importantly, that it will move off your shelf and into its new home. Number 5 is the brand. I think this is important because although some pieces may sell better than others, for instance, if you have a rare Lululemon piece, it may sell for upwards of $100, and sometimes you find a tank and it's only from Lululemon and it will only sell for, let's say, $10 to $20. However, in general, there is an average price for a brand. So for instance, a brand I really like to pick up is Mother Jeans. I know I can usually make a profit, depending, of course, on how much I pay for it, of over $30. And I found that out by keeping track of that brand in my metric spreadsheet. Brand isn't everything, but I think it's an important field to capture for your business. Number 6 is the store you purchased the item from. I think this is so important because especially if you're traveling very far to find inventory, you can keep track of which stores are the most profitable. So for me, I have a select few stores that I like to go to that are the most profitable, and I keep track of that and look at that to determine if I'm going to go back to a certain store or not. Of course, it's always good to try something new to diversify where you're getting your inventory, but keep track of where your inventory is coming from and which stores are most profitable so you know where to spend your time. I know a lot of us resellers spend a lot of time sourcing, and for me, that's one of my favorite parts of reselling, but at the same time, I have to make my time worth it and find the stores that make the most money for my business. Number 7 is to keep track of who your buyer is. So I like to do this because I think it's important to remember who your repeat buyers are so you can continue to have them come back again and again. And it's not something I could remember off the top of my head, and so that's why I created a field to track repeat buyers for my business. I just realized that number 8 is going to rhyme. So number 8, keep track of the state. This is not important in every state, but in the state of Kansas, I have to keep track of if I send an item to Kansas, in what county I send it to, because I do report sales tax on that. It may vary by state, but I was advised by my CPA to keep track of that, and so I put that in my spreadsheet, so it's very easy quarterly to report that and pay that to the state of Kansas. I am not a CPA, I'm not a tax expert, I just know what I've gotten through advice. My husband's also an accountant, so I have obviously a little bit of knowledge, but not a ton. I just think it's important to keep track of that if you need to pay sales tax for your state. So that's it. Those are the 8 metrics that I would recommend capturing for your Poshmark business. Of course, if I missed any, please leave them down below and we can learn from each other. Hopefully this was more interesting than just a screen share of my Excel spreadsheet, but if you're still wanting to see that, just let me know and I will consider doing a video of that as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider going over to my Instagram page at Emily H. Munn if you want more tips, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.